I'm really disappointed with Halo Infinite. To give some context for those who aren't as obsessed with this franchise as I am, Halo Infinite is the 6th mainline entry to a series that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It was developed by 343 Industries, whose track record so far for being able to properly launch games isn't exactly the best. Halo 4, Halo MCC, Halo 5, they all haven't exactly launched in the best state they could have. Halo Infinite is now only another addition to 343's list of suboptimal launches. The most disappointing factor here is just how preventable this all seemed. Halo Infinite's most pressing issue currently is its absolute lack of content. The game released in a state that, if we're gonna be honest, was really just a beta. We were given the least amount of maps and game modes of any Halo release to date, and we're told that because the game was live service, we'd be getting updates to make up for the little content we had at the time. Then we didn't really get many updates. The reason this is so significant is because of just how hard Halo Infinite fumbled its chance to be absolutely massive. Infinite dropped its multiplayer beta, I'll talk more about that wording in a bit, on November 15th, 3 days after Battlefield 2042 and 10 days after Call of Duty Vanguard. Battlefield 2042 was an absolute failure across every single front except like maybe pre-orders, and I can count on one hand every single person who actually cared about Call of Duty Vanguard's release. Halo Infinite had this shit on lock and they didn't even need to release early. It was just a flex. Now that this honeymoon phase is over, that early release is really making itself known. Simply put, the game's content dry, and it's going to be content dry for the foreseeable future. 343 just released the roadmap for Season 2, and it's going to be another 6 months of sporadic quality of life updates until we actually get the content that will keep this game afloat. I gave this game's multiplayer a glowing review when it originally came out, and I still think rightfully so for going off of just gameplay. And I really mean just gameplay, because everything else has aged like milk. One of my complaints was the lack of game modes. When the game launched, we had like 3 to choose from. Since then, they've added more game modes, thank God, but for 5 months post-launch, we're still missing some things I would consider pretty core to a Halo experience, especially after Halo 3 and Reach. Infection, Griffball, Firefight, these are game modes still yet to be added and are pushing a lot of Halo players to just stick with the Master Chief Collection. The big kicker here is that this game mode thing wouldn't even be that bad if we actually had a proper custom games mode that truly lets you create and share game modes on a level that's equal to a game that released in 2010. As an example, Fiesta is essentially just Slayer, except you spawn with completely random weapons. Great. Sounds like fun. In Halo Reach's custom games menu, you could create this game mode pretty easily and quickly. In Halo Infinite's custom games menu, it's literally impossible to create Fiesta on your own. There's no option for you to choose to randomize what weapons someone spawns with. Now you might be thinking, okay, well that's not that bad, that can be fixed. But it's a symptom of a larger issue because that means that anyone who's trying to set out to create the next game mode that reaches the same level of popularity as Fiesta can't do that. And okay, that's bad. But you might say, well, at least we can create game modes with limited options and play them with friends. And yeah, you can. The issue is that you can't share those game modes with a community. There's no file share for Infinite. You can't even go to someone's profile and download the game mode from them. The only way to share game modes is to just straight up tell someone every single setting you change to create it. I watched a video about a custom game mode called Paintball made by iSpitful.
Hey, so I was editing and I just realized it's actually iSpiteful, not iSpitful. Anyway.
That looked like a lot of fun, but it sucks that I can't just go to his description and just click a link that lets me save the game mode for myself to play with my friends. There's not a lot of maps in the game, and since we've had the same 10 maps for 5 months, things are getting a little stale. I mean, already outside of the fact that this is a game built as a live service, this is the least amount of maps we've ever seen for a Halo game, and will continue to be the least amount of maps for a Halo game until just about 12 months after release. None of the maps are bad by any means, there's just a lack of memorable additions to them. Zanzibar has a windmill that's constantly moving. It blocks vehicles from this ramp sometimes, and is a dynamic element that breaks up gameplay on that map in an interesting way. Recharge gets these little pillars that move up and down as its dynamic element. Narrows is a map that takes place on a bridge. The interesting part comes from the man cannons on the side that can shoot you across the map and allows for moments where you can ball the fuck out for a Twitter clip. High Power has a big hole and some launch pads that lead to a cliff. Lockout is a map that I feel is defined by its death or glory spots. Essentially spots that you know for a fact either lead to you fragging the fuck out or immediate death. No in between. The only map that I feel has areas that come close to those feelings in Infinite is Behemoth. Considering Season 2 is going to be giving us only 2 new maps to play in, unless these are both certified classics, I don't see the issue getting resolved. And this wouldn't be terrible, but we have no Forge, so the community can't go out and create their own maps. This is huge because we're missing the entire community behind custom games. There's no racing, no trash compactor, or NASCAR, or jump rope, or Jenga, nothing. No Forge content at all. And yeah, I can play some very simple custom games on Infinite, but why would I do that when I can play the simple things on Halo Reach and the complicated things? The bigger issue with this is that 343 is currently working their asses off just to get Forge and co-op and all this other shit out the door for their roadmap, so this only takes more time away from maps. If Forge was in the game from the start, the community could have made their own maps, and 343 could have curated the most popular and thrown them into the multiplayer rotation. But whatever, I guess. We get co-op and Forge months down the line. The roadmap says Season 2, but I guarantee that Forge is going to be week 3 of September. Only like a week or 2 before Season 3 is supposed to come out. At this point, once Season 2 for the game drops, that basically just means that 1/3 of the game is content complete. Campaign still needs to be feature finished, and Forge is just completely missing until then. Halo Infinite's original business model was supposed to be a live service that would dictate the future of the Halo franchise for the next 10 years, but it really seems that 343 just made the game live service so they can actually finish the game even though it's quote-unquote fully released. Like, if we're being honest, the game is still in beta. Campaign co-op and Forge aren't live service elements, those are critical features missing from the game. I still think the progression system is stupid. They've changed around things since I last talked about it, but it's still pretty slow and based on challenges. There's still absolutely zero reward for actions or medals you get in-game, and the battle pass progression doesn't really feel super rewarding when I level up and unlock a single shoulder piece, and nothing else. I want to make my Spartan look really cool, and I just feel like previous Halo games, and even MCC, does that better than Infinite. I think considering the progression is challenge-based, they could have had some challenges that are more creative or try and get the community buzzing with how fun it could be, or like tutorial videos or something. Something like how they brought back the "They Came to Hear Me Beg" achievement for MCC. Also, I hope they add challenges to campaign once they put in the ability to replay missions, because it's actually something that drives me to play MCC on a regular basis. At this point, I'm not even really sure what 343 could do to improve the game outside of the obvious add more content. Being realistic, the only things I can think of are to focus hard on getting custom games to be on the same level as Halo Reach and 4 and 5, and then just really hammer out Forge so you can utilize community-made content as fast as possible. In hindsight, obviously, the solution here is delay the game another year, even then, maybe a year and a half, because we still don't know if there's going to be more delays for the content they're talking about in this roadmap. And of course, I'm just saying this from the position of some dude who's just a YouTuber. I make funny videos online. If I was in any way fit to manage a game studio, I'd be doing that instead, probably. So keep that in mind. It's just that I'm trying to say something positive for this game because it still has a massive amount of potential to blow up and be a major player in the sphere of popular FPS games right now. I'm just so disappointed it's going to take until probably the 3rd week of September 2022, 10 months after the game initially came out, for it to finally be in a position that the majority of the community surrounding it will be happy with. I'm not mad at 343, I'm not mad at the game, I'm just really disappointed with the way this turned out and how long it's going to take to get to what feels like the actual full release of the game. Again, this is meant to be the next 10 years of Halo, and if it's going to take a full year to get the game content complete enough so that we can't make jokes about it not being a beta anymore, when should we expect campaign DLC or file share for custom games? Obviously, 343 are working their asses off to get this shit done. I just wish it didn't have to happen in the first place. At least on the bright side, the new game modes being added in Season 2 is something new to do for Infinite, and we can finally be blessed with the return of
Hill contested, Hill controlled, Hill contested.
Thanks for 100k subs. Click on a video to go on a binge and follow my Twitter, link in the description, to see my horrid tweets.